just after the combat update in March of 2024, I went ahead and made a Melee Zamorak guide. And well, it's over a year later, and I figured I should probably get around to updating said guide. So starting off with the preset, it is a pretty straightforward setup. It's relatively similar to the last one. In the one equipment, we have the full 4-piece vestment set. As long as you have some variant of best in slot perks, you will be fine here. As far as like the main perks go, like your C4R5, your Impatient 4, Biting 4, things like that. Enhanced Devoted is nice for this boss, so if you want to put that in that slot, go ahead. Grim gives us a 12% crit chance, very nice to use. The Lang swords have standard best in slot perks on them, and I have a dragon battle axe equipped here, and this I only use in the beginning of the fight to help out with the damage on phase 1. You'll see it in the example kill, but we'll be bleeding flurry instead of assault, and the dragon battle axe spec definitely helps out with that. The quiver is just here to hold Hydrix bolts for our Gricko swap. It doesn't need to be an ECB, it could be a Wyvern crossbow, it could be an RCB. I've seen some people use main hand blight because those are really cheap now. I'm using Reaver's Ring to help out with the crit chance, and the 5% accuracy reduction doesn't matter as much anymore because I do have the Shard of Genesis Essence on my Langs and my EZK. If you don't want to use a physical EZK, you could just use a Masterwork sword. It will function exactly the same. And if you don't have a Shard of Genesis Essence on your Langs, you could just camp the Champion's Ring the whole time and everything should work out in theory, because the rotations do still feel quite overkill for what they are, but your mileage may vary. Zuck Cape is pretty self-explanatory. If you have the normal mode cape, just use that, but if you have the hybrid, you might as well bring it. In the EOFs, I have a Dragon Claw and a Dragon Longsword, and the rest of the inventory is pretty straightforward. I do have all of my rune pouches here. They're just the standard setup, and that's because I'm on the Ancient spellbook. The only real reason I'm on Ancients is if I want to try and heal my familiar with Prism of Restoration, and also sometimes it's nice to have the Panic Shield Dome in case you're making a mistake or something like that. But if you're comfortable with the kills in the rotation and you need to bring something else in the inventory, you could just drop this pouch and go on Lunars for Disrupt, Shield, and Venge and work out just fine. For food, I'm just using Blue Blubbers and Super Ceradomin Brews. Sometimes I do use so little food that you could easily switch these out to Guthix Brews or the Super Guthix Brews, but I just bring Cera Brews just for the security and the peace of mind for doing these kills. They don't seem to affect anything too much throughout the fight, so I would just go ahead and bring those. Everything else is rather straightforward. The Vit Pot is nice for phase 7. The Gricko swap is for adrenaline. Blessed Flask is just a form of prayer gain. If you're using Powder of Penance, which now stays on your character through death, you should be fine, but I like to bring some form of prayer restoration in the preset, just again for peace of mind. The Lucky Charms only work on the witches, but you kill 6 of them every single kill, so you might as well bring them and see if you can proc for the slivers. And then an Overload and some Vuln Bombs will round everything out here. For relics, I have just been using Zerk Fury, Fonta Life, and COE. I don't really seem to need the damage reduction from Death Ward, so I just take the extra damage increase from Zerk Fury. And for the rest of the bank preset, I just use the Lantidime sticks, the Spirit Weed sticks, the Overload, the Summoning Renewal, Powder of Penance, and I use a Hellhound just for the damage reduction. Now, if you want to go extra fast and try and really clear out the boss, you could bring a Calg Demon, and it is noticeable, but again, I'm doing 500s mostly just for a relaxed kill method. I just want peace of mind with the preset, so I usually just run the Hellhound. And that's about it as far as the preset and gear and whatnot is concerned. Let's go ahead and run an example kill. Alrighty, let's go ahead and run an example kill. I forgot to mention this in the gear section, but I bring the Champion Ring just for accuracy on phase 1 while using the Dragon Battle Axe spec. And for aura selection, I just use Majorat. Well, let's go ahead and do this example. So we'll turn on our Grim. No, don't continue where I left off. And we'll go ahead and select Custom Enrage, type in 500. Surge in, teleport on the chest, and go to Zammy. And to start the kill, we'll just kill the 6 witches and go from there. But I do the pad order of 2, 1, 4, 6, 5, and 3. It seems to be the default speed pad order for anything like 500% and below. You could do something like 2, 4, 3, 1, 5, 6, or like 2, 4, 3, 6, 1, 5, something like that if you're finding yourself taking a little bit too much damage. But for 500%, you should be just fine. All right. I'll stop yapping. Let's go ahead and do this. Make sure our darkness is up and refresh. We'll hit our dragon battle axe and run in and start taking out these witches. Now, what I like to do instead of diving over and trying to kill them really quickly, I'll actually spam basic abilities here just in between them all, just so I can build up adrenaline, because I do want to run in here on this witch with a meteor, release with a basic, maybe grit go this one. Got some crits there, nothing too crazy, but not terrible. Then here, I'm gonna Zerk, wait a little bit, get a divert, also Vuln Bomb, and then Barge, Bleed, Greater Flurry, Chaos Roar into a Declaw, just gonna do some Declaw spam. Maybe a G Fury here into an Overpower. Maybe a two-hit assault into a Lang Spec. We hit a bleed and like a hurricane or something. Just get the gray bar down to about 40k. Because we do have to wait a little bit for our Zerk timer here. Go ahead and barge this witch. Bleed flurry a bit more. Or bleed flurry again so we can get our cooldown a bit more. Cooldown down a bit more. Man, words are difficult. Alright, we have our Zerk back. Zerk, divert, and then barge. Couple of basics here, and then bleed flurry. Another basic into 2 claw specs. Overpower into a declaw. Lang spec and maybe a hurricane. Just a couple basics before I go ahead and dive surge over here. Anticipate as I'm teleporting into Infernus. Surge, barge, bleed flurry, and just kind of build up basics from here, because we do want to be on some decent adren. And here I'm going to dive over. It's Zerk, divert once again, and then barge, drop a Vuln Bomb, maybe G Flurry or G Fury into G Flurry. A lot of greater abilities here. Couple declaws, then once we get the refund again, just overpower. Maybe Lang Spec into a declaw and a hurricane. And toss a bleed while I surge dive over to this general area. Next to pad 6, that is. Anticipate, surge, barge, bleed flurry, and build up here. Now, after this pad, you shouldn't have to keep double bleed G Flurry anymore, but I kind of do just for muscle memory's sake. Then as I run over here, res, Zerk, make sure he's vulned, barge, double basic, and the same thing, rinse, repeat. I'm still going to bleed Flurry here into another ability, and then overpower claw. And then here, I'm not going to Lang spec. I'm just going to let Assault play out because I want to save all of my Lang stacks for the final pad. And just maybe toss a bleed there. As long as he's about 40 to 50k, you'll be fine here. Some people leave it at like 80k and they still make it work. I haven't quite figured that one out yet, at least for a gray bar HP. And here I'm just going to toss another bleed and then surge dive over to this tile. Grab a res. Zerk, barge, and then what I'll do is I'll hit a basic. I'm going to bleed assault here and then hit reflect into a chaos roar, into a declaw. Maybe a basic here and an overpower. And a declaw here. Hurricane. Maybe another claw just for good measure, because you want this grade bar to be quite a bit you want this one to be low, so that way when you clear pad 3 you can really not deal with a spec on phase, I think that'd be 6. So we'll go in, anticipate, barge, bleed an ability here. Maybe heal up our Hellhound a little bit. And here, put a bleed out. And then I like to surge dive or double surge over here in devotion, anticipate. So I can clear the pad here from the trap. Zerk, barge. I'm going to bleed assault here just for the extra damage. Reflect, chaos roar, dragon claw into a D-long. And then here I'm going to hit overpower into Lang Spec, and that should take care of everything. Not quite, had to put an extra basic there, but doing that will allow you to stay on pretty much max adren going into phase 7. And here, pray melee, barge the demon, bleed flurry, use the sigil if you have it. If not, it's not too big of a deal. Kill this guy with basics. And where this differs now from the old guide is I'll just pray melee here. Zerk. And then I bladed dive the rune. And then I kind of run over to this one. Whichever one is next, hit devotion, and I barge. That didn't kill it, so let's use a basic on it. And then Farcast bleed the assault on Zammy. And then just like roar, chaos roar into claw and just kind of go from there. And what's nice is since they did the rune update, that's the main reason I wanted to do this. You can just basically speed run through P7. It's very fast and you can get kills pretty consistently now without having to do the old song and dance of like having bleed 3 and 4 of destroy under Zerk, kill off a rune. It is much nicer to be doing P7 with melee now. You can very much just full send it. It's been so long since I did that guide, I forget if that update was actually in game or not when I did the 500% guide. But for recapping the phase 7, all I did there was barge, bleed flurry on the demon, use basics to build up, and then I zerked, bladed dove onto the first rune, and if it needs a basic, just use the basic, and then go over to the second rune. You can surge over to that one if you want, and then hit devotion before you barge the rune, so devotion and then barge. If it needs an extra basic, go ahead and do that, and then go over to Zammy, Farcast the bleed if you need to, and let the first hit play out once you go into melee distance. And then it's overpower, chaos roar, dragon claw into another dragon claw, or if you're low adrenaline or forget to drink your A-pot, you can limitless and hit like hurricane or a D-long, or just kind of play with the rotation there. But you have more than enough options to help clear out all of Zammy's HP on phase 7. Well, let's go ahead and see the common loot we got.